All right. Welcome, everybody, to the second episode in our series on agency growth. So we've got an awesome session now. So I am with the CEO of Duda, Itai, and he's talking to us today about no-code websites and kind of the benefits to adding this into your agency, regardless if you're offering website services currently to your clients. And yeah, really excited to be able to talk. There's no slides. This is going to be completely conversational based. And so to help that, I mean, I've got some questions that I want to know, but I really want to hear from you. So you've got the chat to be able to give us some questions. We can riff off of those and go as deep as we want. If you're on a desktop, the chat's pretty obvious. It's right on the side. If you're coming from a phone, just swipe to the side and it will move the videos over, show the chat feature. You can leave us a comment and then swipe back to the video. So really encourage you to use that so we can make this interactive. We want to be able to answer the questions that are coming from the registrants. So Itai, great to have you. Tell us a little bit about Duda.
Hi, Jason, and hi, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Glad to talk about topic of agencies and websites. Definitely an area that is near and dear to my heart, and something that we are focus here every day at Duda. So maybe it makes sense for me to start like just kind of in a nutshell about Duda and what we
Please,
do.
yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So again, I'm Itai Sedan, CEO and co-founder of Duda. I started Duda 11 years ago now here in Palo Alto. So you're getting kind of a background of our office in Palo Alto, California. And what our company does is we are a professional website builder for digital agencies. Our customers are typically web designers, freelancers, digital marketers, people building websites, usually for local small businesses. We have over 17,000 customers worldwide, and now getting really close to 1 million active published paying websites on the platform.
That's awesome. All right,
Yeah,
I was typing to some of our guests. You said 1 million active websites on the platform.
yeah, 1 million. It's been quite a journey, but yeah, that's the number.
That's awesome. How many kind of what's maybe not the average, but how many sites do you see each agency managing? What's because one of your benefits is being able to do this easily instead of trying to cobble together multiple WordPress sites or multiple Wix sites and try and manage those for your clients. How many are somebody able to manage, or what's kind of the normal group of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, great question. I think the average is really kind of more just a number because we have
Sure.
anywhere from sole proprietors, freelancers building kind of very few sites to really gigantic customers. GoDaddy resells our software. Big hosting companies. We have partnerships with big SaaS platforms like TripAdvisor and Appfolio, which is a public company. So we definitely get to the thousands, tens of thousands, or high, sometimes hundreds of thousands with some of those customers. I think like usually what we see when I focus on the majority of our customers, which are small, medium agencies, we kind of see, most of them are those that buy self-service fall into kind of the 1 to 10 sites. I think that's the grand majority of our customers. And then those that are more have really scaled and are more in between 10 to 100. So I think kind of that's where the majority would fall, either between the majority 1 to 10 with a very decent amount of agencies that have scaled. And I really want to use kind of this. I think, Jason, as you and I were thinking about what to talk about, we really want to talk about that group who has grown, from 10 to 100 and maybe a couple of hundreds of websites, and how have they done it? What have they done operationally? How does their product suite
Right.
look like? Like help some of these folks here who are on the call and are thinking about scaling their agency business. And I'd love to share
Yes,
from what I've seen.
absolutely. I definitely want to talk about that. That's on my list to talk about the scalability of this for folks that have a couple sites and how they can grow those. But I also don't want to leave, especially early in the season, the conversation. I don't want to alienate those who might not have their first site for a client done, right? And so let's
Yeah.
maybe start from I'm not offering web services to clients, and we'll work throughout the conversation towards I'm already offering it, but let's scale it. And so I guess my first question is, if I'm an agency owner and I'm not specializing in websites, I'm specializing in SEO, copywriting services, general consulting, but my clients don't have maybe a great website, or they're looking for a little bit of help. I mean, kind of what's that first step? So help me as an agency owner. I'm not offering website design. How easy is it to say, let me get a site spun up for a client? And I guess maybe the biggest reason is why should I even do that? Why should, if I don't like my client's site, but I don't offer that service, why should I worry about,
Yeah.
offering website design services?
Right. Yeah. Lots of great questions in that one.
Yeah, sorry, there's a
Let's kind
few.
of yeah, let's unpack that. I think very typical. I look at a lot of our customers. They don't offer just websites. Many times, I kind of like to think about the agency as the outsourced VP marketing for a small business. They're not just there about, it's not just about one tool or one product. It's really about, how do you help that small business be successful? How do you help them build a digital marketing strategy that will allow them to achieve the goals that they want to achieve, be it get more people into the store, drive online engagement, collect leads, sell products or services. So I think you kind of need to start by, of course, focusing on the problems, on the challenge or whatever the objective of the small business, and kind of figure out what is the best solution set to get them there. I think websites is pretty foundational for any kind of martech stack or marketing strategy, because regardless of how you're going to help that customer, leads are going to come from different sources, and maybe you provide some of those services around SEO and demand gen and lead gen. At the end, they need to land somewhere, be it a landing page, a microsite, a full website. You need to be wearing kind of a marketing hat and thinking about CTAs and how does that convert on that website, and then capturing those leads and doing something with them, driving the right engagement on the site, and then nurturing those leads. So I think, between lead demand gen and nurturing, like, the web presence is a very critical component in any digital marketing strategy. And hence, like, many freelancers, web designers start there, or start somewhere else, but kind of usually get into websites in some shape or form. I think you need to decide if you want to provide that service, or you're gonna, I've seen some digital agencies say, no, I'm gonna focus on A, B, and I'm gonna outsource, web design, let's say, to another agency that's their bread and butter. So I'll focus on the other things. I think that's always an option. We definitely see that as well. But overall, Duda is a very simple tool. So if you want to give it a go and try it yourself, we're a totally no code, low code platform. You don't need to have any design skills in order to build beautiful, well converting sites on Duda. It's drag and drop, very easy to do. We have small businesses that come to Duda and build sites themselves. So obviously, if you're a marketer, if you're an agency, you should feel right at home with a tool like Duda.
So I think, when I hear this, I'm thinking, one, you can't outsource this, but why lose the revenue stream if it's, as easy to do with Duda? Plus, you get to control it, and you get to add an additional service, and you get to insert your core competency into that website. So if it's SEO, or if it's copywriting, or if it's business consulting and management, you're able to really direct that, because, as you're saying, it's the foundational aspect to it. I like what you said about kind of thinking like the owner. You're trying to think about this business and its success. And a lot of times I think we can get focused on what our core service is and say, oh, that's I'm gonna do really good at SEO. The problem with that is that if you're bringing clients and you're doing a great job through your SEO services, but to a crappy website that you don't control and the client isn't updating, there's not going to be any conversions. And so you might be great at your SEO marketing, but there's no conversions, and now the client doesn't have any money to continue the engagement. And so I really like this idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's easy. It's no code. I think no code is probably a general enough term now, but you're talking, it's very simple, drag and drop interface to be able to build these. But there's other no code sites available, right? So we're familiar with, some of the big names, the Wix and the Squarespace. Maybe a WordPress template. Still maybe a little bit of coding, but easy enough. What's the difference? Why wouldn't we just use one of those services, I guess?
Yeah. So I think, the first reason why our customers come to Duda is because you can build beautiful websites very, very quickly, related to this no code and a very simple tool that allows you to build sophisticated and very, high converting websites. I think the second reason is really kind of our holistic view on helping an agency in that journey that they go through with a small business. So we've really honed, like Duda is absolutely focused on agencies. We might have some small businesses coming to Duda, but it's not our focus. We don't target them. We are a company that was built around agencies. We have a deep and very profound understanding of the pain points of agencies. We talk to agencies all day long. We're kind of obsessed about helping them. And we've built really a platform that solves multiple pain points in that journey that an agency has with a small business. So, of course, the bread and butter of our platform is the website builder itself, but we've built tools and enablers that start way before you get into building a website and end after that. Let me give a couple of examples. When we help agencies with white label assets and material to help them, acquire customers. So presentations that they can put their own logos, their own branding on, and communicate the value of websites through our platform. We know that one of the pain points is collecting data from small businesses. How many weeks pass until that client gives you their logo, their opening hours, their business information, images from their business? We have algorithms that scour the web and grab a lot of that information automatically from Facebook, from an old website, different sources, and put it at your fingertips, saving you all that time. One of the cool tools that we really, that we released about a year and a half ago is, we call it site comments, and it allows you to collaborate and communicate as an agency with your end customer, and allow them to provide feedback on the website itself as you're building it. Right. And that creates tasks for you as a designer, almost like Google Doc tasks. So this allows the agency to communicate better internally, and of course communicate with the client, and make sure that the feedback that you're getting is in context with what they visually see on the website.
That's awesome.
So I think it gives a better picture of how we're like very holistically a platform for agency, and not just a website builder per se.
That and Liz agrees. She says, love the comments function. I mean, how many times have we tried to get feedback on something, and you're trying to figure out, like, where are you looking, and like, especially if we're not doing this in person, this just skips the in person, which is certainly important today's climate. So you're able to still get that very unique feedback about, like, I want this changed, I want this color different. That's phenomenal. I like that. Okay. So I asked a comment in the chat. We want a little bit of interaction here. Let me know what type of agency you're working with, and we can kind of tailor the conversation to the registrants that we have joining with us. So if we've got mostly social media or mostly SEO, let's hear about it, because then we can kind of riff on that with some examples for the rest of the session. So one question I have, and I wanted to get this out early, because if you haven't launched your first site yet, again, I'm focusing on this group of people that are in the social media or SEO. They know their clients could benefit from a much better website, um, but they're not offering it. How do you? So much of what we do as an agency is showing the social proof, right? It's showing what we've done for other people, how we can help our client. But if we haven't built a website before, and maybe we're trying to white label this, so we don't want them seeing the full Duda brand, because
Right.
then they could just do it themselves. Um,
Right.
what do you say to those folks? How do you get your first couple websites spun up so that then you can say, here's what I'm able to do?
Yeah. I think it's important to create a little bit of a portfolio. You want to have your own, your own website as an agency, and showcase some of the websites that you've built. Get the first ones. Even if you have to do it, for low cost or even for free, you should be able to get a couple of examples. I think that that really helps with closing your first deals. Get the first one. If you can get sometimes a couple of more in a specific. I've seen agencies really successful being more vertical focused. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but focusing on a specific industry. There's definitely advantages there, getting deep into understanding that industry, understanding their pain points, building out a couple of integrations that are relevant to that industry. Right, when you're coming and talking to a small business and you really get their industry, if it's real estate, if it's legal or health, it's different, right? Like if a small business is talking to agency that can tell them, hey, I've built, 5 real estate websites or 10 real estate websites, and this is what you need, and this is why you need it. That conversation is completely different than when they get approached by a very generic agency that, has built multiple websites, but doesn't get their industry.
Yeah, so let's get into that. But before I leave that topic, I mean, I think also if it's that easy for Duda, you could just build the website and show them, right? Like you don't have, especially if you're going to do it free or reduced, you could just show the work. Like here's how I
Right.
think. Somebody mentioned they're in PPC. If you don't like the client's site, it's going to hurt conversions, for your ads. So you could just build. Here's what I think we
Right.
should use. If you agree, here's what I think would be fair, for that product. But so let's get into the
Yeah.
topic about
Kind of, Jason, one
yeah,
more thing, like, a nice tip. I know some of our agencies use this capability of Duda to sell websites. Core Web Vitals. Maybe I'll spend a minute to talk about that SEO and Core Web
sure.
Vitals. Core Web Vitals is kind of the way that Google has really positioned it as a benchmark of how they measure performance of websites. So Google is basically measuring today how fast a website loads, both on mobile and desktop. They provide scores, and Duda has really optimized for that. And a lot of other website builders as well. But Duda today ranks the best in terms of Core Web Vitals performance compared to any other website, and definitely website that have been built a couple of years back. So one tip here for the crowd, uh, showing and by the way, Core Web Vitals, the scoring relates. Google has mentioned that this influences your location on a business location on search results. So any business that is not optimized for Core Web Vitals today is basically suffering in terms of ability of consumers to find
And
them.
how might we know?
Showing
Is there
them,
a good resource to help sell a business on the importance of Core Web Vitals to what they have now? Is there a good way to quickly share? Here's where you're currently ranking, and here's where we could get you.
yeah. So I'll post it afterwards in the chat here. There's a couple of resource Duda. If you go and Google Duda and Core Web Vitals, we have a whole resource center around Core Web Vitals. So get yourself educated, learn more about it. Uh, Google provides actually the tools to measure, so it's very easy. Just also Google, Google Core Vitals. You'll see the tools that
Okay.
are out there to test. I think you can go and show a small business how poorly they score today on Core Web Vitals. Explain to them that it's hurting their business and their ability to be found, and communicate to them, here's a couple of sites that I've built, and Duda, thanks to, you don't have to mention Duda, but look how well they score in Core with Vitals.
Right.
So that could be a good sales tool. And I know many agencies using Duda. And since we've optimized and we worked a lot around making sure our websites score really well, you basically get, enjoy that out of the box with Duda.
That's phenomenal. You mentioned earlier about the vertically focused service. Instead of coming to somebody and saying, "Hey, I'm a generalist. I build all these websites." No, I own real estate or dental in some of these categories. If that's what you mean in terms of vertically focused, I really like this idea of niching down, right? And so when I heard you mention that, yeah, I want to make sure we came back to it. You talked a little bit about it. What more can you tell us about the importance as it relates to these website builds to be vertically focused?
Yeah. So I touched about it a little bit, right? Like the fact, I think it's understanding the jargon, understanding what people in that industry care about. I think that's extremely important. I think integrations that are relevant for that industry. For example, if you're building a site in the real estate space, IDX integration comes up pretty quickly, right? That's like an integration with a third party that allows you to show real estate listings for that agent. Duda has ability to integrate with all kinds of third-party components. So maybe that's something, if you have someone with a little bit of development skill set, this is kind of where Duda doesn't limit you. It is a no-code, low-code platform, but we do have the ability for you to build widgets and add them to our left side panel. So once you go into a very specific industry, you can build out some of these integrations, create them as a widget, and then integrate these third-party tools that are relevant to that industry into your website. So these could be like bookings engine, right, for hotels, these or other type of businesses that rely on scheduler or bookings. There's a lot of different examples of kind of these third-party integrations that you would do if you would be focused on a specific vertical.
And you have some of these already created, or these would be ones that we create and then load onto our?
Yeah, there's both. We've created some of those, and you can add your own. Now, like, I think if you're focusing on a specific vertical, this is where I would suggest also creating some templates that are specific to that vertical. So create a set of legal specific templates, or create a set of healthcare specific templates. You want to be able to showcase those on your website. So through our API, you're also able to take our templates and kind of embed those into your website. If you're interested in doing that, and start some of that discovery for your clients through a flow that starts on your website, that showcases the industries that you're focused on, the templates that you've built, the widgets that you have integrated, add those case studies that you have from customers that you've won. So doing all that is really going to get you much deeper into those verticals, and it's going to, it's at the end, it's going to help you acquire and convert customers from that vertical.
Okay. No, I like that. It's definitely going to make it easier to be able to have more of these conversations. And, I was thinking when we were talking about this, earlier we were talking about how, I brought up the question, how do you sell if you haven't built these yet? And we've touched on a bunch of different ways: vertically focusing, giving it away maybe for free, showing some of your other work. I also don't think it's a terrible idea to talk about Duda, to talk about the process, right? To kind of show how it's made. Because here's the thing, if you can, and I'm speaking from experience because we work with a lot of agencies at CrowdSpring, some will completely white label the process and they'll mark it up 3-4 times to their client and not tell the client, where they could get it for 3-4 times less. And some will say, here's what I'm using. I'm using CrowdSpring. It costs $299, but I'm going to charge you $699 or $1,000. And I think sometimes that transparency, especially if you're very early on, can be helpful, because you can tell the clients that you still add value on top. You can get a better design than they could get going themselves because you understand some of their problems. As an agency owner, you understand some of the marketing challenges and kind of a holistic view of their industry, especially if you're vertically focused, where I think you add a lot of value. And so I think if you're trying to say, well, how do I do uh, website design services, completely on my own without telling the client, what tools I'm using, uh, there is an option to say, I'm using Duda. Here's what they specialize in. And I'm basically, you could do this yourself. You could use Duda, or you could use Wix or Squarespace. I mean, every small business owner knows these tools now. But I think being able to tell them, like, I'm going to get you a better result because I'm vertically focused, because I understand your industry and the challenges, I'm going to get you a better result than you could get on your own. And because of that, I'm going to charge a premium on top of what you would pay using one of these tools. Do you agree
Yeah,
with that?
Jason, 100%. I see. We have a very vibrant community that as for our agencies, we have a Facebook page, and there's a lot of conversation around that topic of white labeling. Yes, no. Do you mention which tools are you
Sure.
using? I think what I've seen is agencies that are very confident in the value that they're providing have no hesitancy sharing what tools they're
Mm,
using. It's not about the tool. All the tools that are available, they're out there, and any small business can get access to them and use them. It's the value that you're bringing is in tying these tools together into a strategy, a marketing strategy that will drive results. And I think that's what the small business cannot do themselves, right? They do not wear that marketing hat. They do not have that skill set. They do not know where to place the CTAs, how to drive conversion, thinking about marketing funnels,
yep.
right? They should be focused on doing their core job, and this is what we as marketers bring to the table. So I don't think you should have, I respect every agency with what they decide. If they want to be white label and not mention the tool, that's perfectly fine. If they want to mention, like, I don't have any preference here or there, but I think you should overall, I don't think you should be too concerned if you're providing value to that customer.
That was the money segment right there. If we were going to pull a clip out 30 seconds, I think that's what it is. And I think that's really interesting. I mean, we say the same thing. What we say is, design tools don't make you a designer, right? And so you can't just grab a design tool off the shelf and think that you're a designer. It takes the understanding of how to bring these tools together to create
Right.
something great, and that's what you're
Right.
doing. Yeah.
And there's tons of tools out there, and I think as much I many times get asked the question, do you think these tools, like with AI and everything, will they replace the agency eventually, where agencies would not be needed? And my answer is absolutely not. It's completely the opposite. There's such an abundance of tools out there, and that makes the digital landscape so much more complicated. And really, again, coming back to tying these tools together into a certain strategy that would actually drive results, that's really where the agencies come into place. And with more tools and more options out there, and the market becoming more competitive, it takes much more to actually succeed and acquire customers. It's more and more of a reason why you need a professional to put that together for you.
It sounds like such a much better way to position yourselves, as opposed to a commodity based positioning where I'm saying you need a website, I build websites, right? Instead, you're saying you need conversions, and what I specialize in is understanding the industry, understanding all the tools to bring together in order to create something that drives conversions. It just happens to be through a website that I know how to put together, right? I mean, it flips kind of the positioning around where you're starting with the value and the solution as opposed to the core product, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it could tie multiple products together,
Yeah.
right? Could tie multiple products together. And I think it's great that the products are becoming more simpler, because that allows us as agencies to provide a more faster response to our customers. It requires us as agencies to, potentially we don't need to pay for very high skilled, very expensive resources today with no code platforms. A marketer or kind of a more business person or a designer can do a lot of things without development resources. So it allows us to reduce potentially our costs, provide better service. So these tools are helpful for us.
Absolutely.
And at the end, it pays off for the small business.
All right. So earlier in the conversation, you want to talk about scaling. And so I think, I kind of held you back because I want to talk about kind of that first, why are we even doing this? And I think we established, the why is being able to have some of that control, instead of outsourcing, that's an option, but why not control both the revenue from that, as well as kind of insert your knowledge of this industry into this process of building the site in order to help drive your core agency service, which may not be website design. So we've established the why. We've talked about it's pretty easy to get the site forward set up. How much time do you think, before we move off this topic and talk about scaling, how much time do you think it takes for a simple kind of brochure website that's a few pages? What's the time investment?
I think you could get to a pretty good place within, a couple of hours, maybe a day.
Yeah.
And many of our customers were previously using WordPress, and we have multiple case studies on our platform where they've cut down that build time of a website by somewhere by like 50% compared to WordPress, moving into Duda. So speed is definitely a key tenant and a key value proposition for us.
Yeah, WordPress is just easy enough to get you started, and then you have all of these issues with trying to make sure it's optimized for SEO, and the template looks good, but it's just not quite there yet, and now you can't make any changes. So yeah, I like that aspect.
Exactly, that ability to to give enough, like, to make it easy, but then still keep flexibility. Where as an agency, you have you can really have that modularity. You can get to the result that the customer is asking. One thing that we truly believe in, that we don't want to limit you in any way or form. So if you have that skill set, if you know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Duda allows you to insert that into the site. Of course, it's not a requirement, but it is an option.
Nice. So it can scale with your level of complexity, but it's certainly great for most of us who want the end result but don't want to go to coding school for it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also, I'll post in a second, a lot of amazing resources that we have to educate and train you on the Duda platform. There's what we call Duda University, with great courses and certifications. So if anybody's interested in taking a look, I think that's a good place to start.
Okay. And a little shout out to Daryl here. He said he switched from WordPress to Duda. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a common thought for you, a common instance where people are switching from this. So let's transition to more of the scalability. I looked through the comments before when we were asking about where some of the folks are focused in their agencies, and everybody seems to be kind of dabbling in websites, or at least knows they need them for their clients. So let's talk about kind of the ability to scale, right? And so walk me through kind of the process for that, for scaling from just your one or two. How do you start to have something? Because normally this is going to add layers of complexity, right? Especially if I'm launching multiple WordPress sites and now I've got to manage them and make updates. What do you see as being a different alternative to that?
Yeah. And I think, Jason, probably you and I have, similar experience in your company, same as Duda. As you scale, as you start to grow, at every different phase of a company, you need to consistently think about your operations and how do they allow for continued scale, and the things that you do maybe in order to get to kind of the first $1 million of revenue are different than what you would do to get to like $10 million and definitely above that. You need different operations and different capabilities. So I think you have to do the right things that are right for your stage. And maybe some of the things that I'll mention are not relevant for someone who's just starting off a web design business. Maybe at that point you could still kind of build websites and manage kind of your customers on a spreadsheet or an Excel or something like that. But at a certain point, you will feel that it's, especially as you start to bring a team on board that needs to collaborate around the website, and you need to divide tasks between different people in your team. As you have more customers and those you need to support these customers, then you will feel that need to introduce the right tools to manage that operation and allow you to scale. Because otherwise, you'll just feel a lot of pain, and you'll feel that you're held back by not having great processes and automation in place. So things to think about as you scale, and again, maybe not relevant in the first couple of customers, but as you grow, CRM tool, right, to manage that interaction with your customers. Somewhere to manage that contact list of customers that you have. Something around, and there's simple CRM tools that are very SMB friendly and could give you a good start and would be extremely cheap. And then, as you scale, sometimes, and that happened in Duda as well, we've switched between platforms at different stages. So maybe, like something like Zoho CRM would be good at a very initial stage, but later on you would need to move to kind of a HubSpot or Salesforce. I also recommend looking, each one of these tools that I mentioned has different price points at the entry stage and at a later stage. So if you can choose a little bit of a more well-known platform that has been proven out, and start a little bit on like using less features on the cheaper side and grow, it's always less painful than later on needing to migrate your customers between systems. You want to look for a system that would allow you to email and communicate with your customers. So something around, again, it could be some of these CRM tools, could be an email marketing automation tool, a platform for support, where they could open up tickets that you would resolve, that you could communicate through them. Again, platform for payments, collect payments, invoice. So almost every one of these things that I mentioned has a different tool that does it. There's some tools that kind of give you an all-in-one. I don't think we have enough time to dive into each one of them. You do want to make sure that maybe sometimes in the beginning, an all-in-one could make sense. Later on, when you want to do more sophisticated things, some of these platforms that are all-in-one fall short in some of the capabilities, and that's usually what drives you to more of a best of breed. But this, again, for people who scale, and later on, the best of breed has its own challenges, because then many times you need to deal with the integration between systems. So, for example, between a CRM, a marketing automation, and maybe a support system. Jason, also, I think Duda helps a lot with different aspects of scaling. As I mentioned, the tool like site comments that allows you to communicate with your customers around changes, where it creates tasks for your different designers in the team. You could tag different statuses of the website. So, for example, I'm now at the offer stage with that customer. I'm in the build stage. We're in the QA stage. So tagging that, afterwards being able to do searches to see which customers are at which phase. I think these are things and mechanisms that really help you to manage a business, a web design business that starts to scale.
Absolutely. So one question I have when I start thinking about, many of these sites, especially as the complexity gets greater, right? It's fine to manage a couple of brochure type sites, but if you start managing e-commerce sites or PPC landing pages, what are we responsible for as an agency with the management of that site? Keeping, we've been talking about how to make a nice site that's SEO friendly, looks nice and converts well. But what about the ongoing requirements for keeping that secure and updated? What do you recommend we do in that scenario?
Yeah, I think this needs to be. It's an important aspect and something that agencies need to think about in terms of their business model, right? And also in terms of like the passion and what they want to be doing. Some businesses just want to some agencies just want to build the website and hand it off to the customer and not have to do anything with maintenance, which is fine if you want to do that. But if you are interested in the maintenance, I think that's a really cool opportunity for ongoing, subscription revenue, where you can, what I've seen agencies do is, package some kind of service where, the ongoing fees from the customer would cover the ongoing cost of having the site hosted, but you could also throw in maybe 2 or 3 revisions per month based on what the customer needs. You would also wrap into that any updates that need to be done. The nice thing with Duda is we take care of all the security and all high performance. So you don't really, that this is taken, at least we take care of that for you.
Nice.
Compared to a WordPress or anything like that, where you need to do the upgrades and when plugins get upgraded, and there's a whole set of challenges there that Duda solves by being kind of a proprietary platform where the hosting, the websites, the templates, the widgets are all provided by us and are guaranteed to run and basically never break. But getting back to that service, I think package it, providing a couple of different packages, subscription packages to your customers, the bronze, silver, gold, and offering different different between features that you provide or that Duda the platform provides, and different services that you can kind of add on top of that, which would relate to changes or upgrades or revisions that you're willing to do for that customer, I think is a great way to guarantee an ongoing subscription revenue for your business. And as you bring in more customers, that's the nice thing about the subscription. Every customer is another layer of revenue, of consistent revenue that comes in. And over time, you're building this, beautiful cake with layers of revenue, and that becomes really meaningful, very predictable revenue coming in.
So the revenue is obviously key, but I think getting back to one of your first points about kind of thinking from the owner's perspective about success, it also guarantees that we're constantly testing the website, that pretty websites that we just put out into the world don't sell, right? We need to make updates to these and test and A/B test and see what's working. And I think that kind of guarantees the ongoing success, right? We're able to keep making modifications. We're not doing them for free, so there's a revenue stream there, right. But it ensures your success because you're staying involved in that process.
Yeah, and it ensures, and this is that alignment that subscription creates between the client and the agency, where you're constantly need to provide value to that customer. Otherwise, you will see churn, attrition. So as part of, Jason, as you mentioned, thinking about what can I do to, with those hours, you don't just want to, it's great to get the revenue, but you do need to provide services against that. And things like A/B testing, things like, changing designs, updating content, showing the customer that you're doing things that, that business doesn't have time to do it themselves, but not just doing the work, tying that to actual ROI, right? Using, for example, in Duda, we have an analytics module. So tying it to, right, what are you actually driving? Growth in revenue, growth in the amount of leads that are coming in through the website, growth in traffic, growth in something, right? That the actions that you are doing are driving concrete results, and kind of using that embedded analytics module in Duda that helps you. We also send a monthly email if you allow that. That's something in the control of an agency that shows the main engagements that happen on the website, the traffic. So on a monthly basis, there is a report that you can leverage and send it out to your customers under your own brand.
And I think what I was thinking about when you're talking about this was, again, the value that an agency provides to managing these types of tools, because anybody can access Google Analytics. A business owner can get in there and they can see traffic and they can see, movement, but knowing the quality, knowing what's actually driving the result can be difficult, right? And I think this is where kind of the agency can push the business owner to understand, what's noise, separate, the quality from the noise, what is actually driving what's important for the business, right? What's important for the business is sales. It's not email addresses. People are conditioned to just use a burner email, and drop it in there. And so if the only thing the business owner is looking at is emails collected, you're still going to fall short in terms of the goals of growing the business. And I think this is what separates great agencies from those just trying to get a quick buck, is thinking long term, right? Not how many leads can we drive this month, but how many quality leads that are going to turn into clients for that business that's going to ensure that I'm actually employed a year from now, right? And so I think that's where you add that value.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we're nearing the end. I've got a couple more questions. We're kind of getting towards the end, so I want to make sure if we get some questions from the group. If you have something specific you want to talk about before we wrap up, anything related to kind of this broad area that we're talking about. It could be the actual creation of these. It could be how we position them. We've talked about a few different areas of interest here. One thing, Itai, that I want to get from you, since you're in this industry, is what trends have you seen? We've talked about kind of the reason why we should be doing this, how to kind of position it, parts of how to sell it to a business owner. What trends do you see where we can feel confident that this isn't just you and I talking, that this is something that should be done? How do we talk to business owners that, hey, this is pretty big? Because I think the context for this is websites aren't new, right? Like we've been talking about having a strong site. I think most sites are pretty well mobile optimized now. What are some trends that you're seeing in this industry that we can use for either selling or feeling comfortable to ourselves that we should pursue this further?
Yeah. So I think obviously we're the COVID pandemic had a big impact on small businesses all around. Generally you see most companies that service SMBs, at least on the MarTech side, have seen very strong success in the last year and a half. Just this whole transition from physical meetings to online engagement. It's what it has done for the industry and for digital transformation is huge. So I think websites has always been clear that it's an absolute must, and we've definitely seen a huge pickup in those businesses that were still very physical, didn't have websites. Already last year, we saw a huge pickup, and many of those businesses transitioned to online.
Have we reached the end of that? Are we back to pre-pandemic levels, or?
Yeah, I think we're we definitely passed the peak. I think the peak was in kind of 2020 and a little bit into early 2021. Levels have kind of decelerated a little bit, but we're still at a much higher level than we were pre-pandemic. And
which means that there's ample opportunity to come in and say, let's run A/B testing for your site. Let's migrate your site to something better. Yeah.
A lot of businesses have closed, and anybody opening a business today is thinking about online, right? Many businesses are 100% online. So that creates more opportunities for all agencies and people in our space. And some are hybrid, but I think less and less businesses are just local and 100% physical because of the challenges in this time. So anybody opening a new business is definitely taking these things into consideration, and we're seeing much more e-commerce and so forth. I think so. We established websites is a must. Many businesses who haven't have moved and now have websites, but that's not enough. Like, it's really the mindset has shifted to, okay, I have this website. How do I guarantee that it's converting, that it's driving, it's helping my acquisition, and I'm driving much more conversion. It's not enough to just have a brochure website. And I think what we've done around that is really focus on tools and capabilities to allow small businesses to better convert and better acquire on their website. So tools, e-commerce again saw a huge lift in 2020. We saw about 256% growth in e-commerce website builds on our platform. We also, Duda made an acquisition around e-commerce that we announced a month or two ago, a company called Snipcart. If we have time, we can talk about that.
Go into it right now.
Yeah, I'll get to it in
Okay.
a second. And then like other tools that allow you to acquire and convert, things like memberships. We're now about to release a membership feature where you could gate that certain people have access to certain content while others don't if they don't pay certain paywalls. Widgets or different capabilities like Zoom. We integrated with Zoom to allow yoga instructors or whoever wants to do courses online to do that. On the e-commerce side, we're thinking much more broader about e-commerce. It's not just about having an online store. Many businesses can sell a couple of ancillary products. Businesses are thinking about digital products. Not everything is physical. Digital products could be content, could be a subscription to something. So we've also added digital subscriptions. All these things that drive engagement, drive conversion on your website, and basically help small businesses increase revenue from their website.
That's phenomenal. No, those are some pretty cool trends, because what I'm taking away from that is, okay, if I'm a business owner, I've already got my site. Like most of the clients we work with, because of we're driving PPC to a website, or we're driving social media traffic there. So they already have that. We may sell them on trying to grow, improve the website, but we're talking about trends unrelated to that. We're talking about the integrations with Zoom means take your physical business and reach a much broader audience. So you mentioned the yoga example. This trend that we see with subscription models for content, the rise of Substack and being able to have these types of communities that are paid communities. It's something that you can now offer to your clients and say, look, let's create a community around this, and the tools that you're talking about easily integrate with these websites. Yeah, I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you asked me about Snipcart.
Yeah.
Snipcart is a headless e-commerce company. I don't think they love the word headless, but it because it's a little bit more than headless. It's basically, when we say headless, people usually think about kind of the back end of e-commerce. Snipcart that we acquired has that, plus multiple front end e-commerce components around the checkout and the shopping cart. An amazing
and real quick
team.
In English, what is back end and front end?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Sometimes, so when you're kind of building software, the front end is usually the UI part of any software, and the back end is more kind of where you, for example, in e-commerce, it's more where you manage your product, your inventory, you define the payment gateways, the shipping providers. So that's kind of more the back office side of the software.
Okay.
The front end is more where you build the store. It's more the visual aspect. And there's just a trend in the industry of separating the two. So you get kind of, the best of both worlds. You get like a strong back end, and you have flexibility around which tools to use for building your UI, especially in a world that has become kind of multi-screen. So with the same backend, you would want like a great experience on desktop, tablet, and mobile, and Duda allows for that. So we acquired the Snipcart team about 2 months ago, a very talented group of individuals from Quebec City that have built an amazing product. We wanted to double down on e-commerce given the success that we saw in 2020. And we think that we really love what they've built, and we have a shared vision for where e-commerce is going in terms of providing very flexible and modular e-commerce solutions for our customers. We're now working on the integration with the Snipcart team, and that's going to be available in early 2022.
Perfect. All right, Itai, what was great having this conversation. Really appreciate the value. A lot of takeaways, I think, around positioning your agency and how to offer these types of services, how to scale them. Before we wrap up, is there something we missed? Do you want to mention something else, or where folks should go to learn a little bit more? I know you shared a few links for Duda in the chat.
Yeah, I did. I put some links on the chat of things that we discussed.
And for those listening to the recorded, that's and you could Google these, the Duda University, and then Googling Core Web Vitals Duda, and to get a little bit more information there.
Right. And, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Email, I'll also add my email here. So glad to hear if there's any questions. And of course, you can also reach me on social media. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. So always love to talk to folks and answer any questions. And Jason, been an absolute pleasure to be on the session with you.
Yeah, it's been a fun hour just riffing on these ideas.
Who knew where this conversation is going to take us to?
Exactly. So that wraps it up. Thanks so much for attending and for your questions and engagement. Hope to see everybody tomorrow. See ya.